Hey, Vertigo listeners, welcome back to another episode and the first official episode of Vertigo. Can't wait for the next episode to kick off. But before I get there, I just got to give a quick shout out to my wife, Minna. First of all, I love you. Thank you for your support of this. And if you haven't had a massage at Air Healing and Wellness, that's EIR, you should be Googling it while I'm talking to you. If you haven't had a massage at Air Healing and Wellness, you are missing out. Not only do they help with those tired, achy, sore muscles, it is a place to just go and relax, rejuvenate, get ready to tackle life, which we all know is a shit show. So you need to get down there. Air Healing and Wellness, EIR. They're located at 5752 US Route 11 in Pulaski, New York. Yes, they are the best kept secret in the North Country. Air, EIR, Air Healing and Wellness. Get there. And now on to the episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newest episode, or episode one, I guess, as they would say, of Vertigo. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Had to play with the buttons a little bit. So I'm excited because this episode, so last week I got to chat with Zach. This week I get to chat with Maddox, who came up on last week's episode. So if you haven't listened to the pilot episode, listen to that first. But Maddox is here. And one of the things that I'm excited to talk about is because Zach mentioned the glow up, as it's called, with Maddox. And we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But yeah, man, welcome on.
How's it going? I'm Maddox. I'm Sean's son. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, man, very excited. This is cool because I've gotten to actually have, like, Zach, obviously on, my son, you're on. I've been on with Shawnee on Maple Talk. So this has just been a really neat experience kicking off Vertigo this way. It's made it a lot of fun. And I'm really proud too because I think each one of you as individuals have changed so much. Sean's doing his thing with his podcast.
I agree.
Yeah, Zach is, such an awesome, cheerleader, one, but two, also is always willing to help out. His jumping on here, has jumped on. They did 13 days apart,
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
yeah, he's super supportive too of Sean with Maple Talks, helps with the market, like always throwing out ideas. So, and then you are here.
Which I've never been hugely into podcasts, but I think I'm definitely now getting into it now that everyone else is into it. So
It's kind of a neat, it is a neat,
it is fun.
yeah, and there's so much, like we were talking about before we went live with this. Some of the podcasts that you have been listening to. Maddox is huge into music, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. But you've talked about some of the podcasts too that you've been getting into, which is really cool.
Shout out Garza podcast. I watch that a lot.
Yeah, there you go. So I want to talk a little bit about your glow up specifically. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I think I definitely have had a noticeable glow up. Looking at pictures.
Yeah, man.
And I would say the biggest for me, I mean, like I don't want to sound cliche, but it was definitely like I guess spiritual journey. Like for me, I think changing as a person is the best, or it's the most important thing about like having a glow up. Like
Yeah,
I've changed my physical looks have changed, but I think my mindset has incorporated way more into that, and it wouldn't have I couldn't have had one without the other. I think, um,
yeah,
and I've gotten into health and just bettering like my diet and um I've been like hugely into lifting and getting into like the science behind working out, and I think that's helped me. But I think ultimately my mindset of just pushing through those dark days and like just getting to work, just getting through that, that's helped tremendously. And every aspect of my life.
Yeah. And I've noticed the change, you know. I think it's incredible, the transformation. So let's back up a little bit because I think a lot there was this weird flux in how I remember, you know, first of all, when you were kind of in that strange age group with school because
Hmm.
you had started your freshman and sophomore year, right? Before COVID,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So, and then you were active in wrestling
Hmm.
at that point, and then COVID came, which obviously shut down school, so
Yep.
nobody was really active.
COVID made everyone depressed, and a lot of people got fatter in COVID, and I definitely got fatter in COVID during COVID.
Right? We were all eating
Yeah,
DoorDash.
it's like all we had to do was, I mean,
Yep.
so yeah, no, during COVID especially, yeah, I just kind of let myself go, mentally and physically, and then I've had a lot of stuff happen since that I think was like the a big eye opener for. I was kind of just like, damn, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this, and
Right.
it's either I can just keep crying about it and letting myself go, or I can you know step up to the challenge and just
Yeah.
get at it.
Which I
And
which I and not to interrupt you, but I kind of want to I think go back a little bit too because I think one of the things that you were saying and I think is so important is it's easy to get stuck in the trap of saying I want to change. New Year's just passed
Mhm.
and New Year's resolutions and I think there are a lot of people who say I want to do whatever. It's the changing of the mind, I think that is the hardest part. So, how did you even get into that mindset of like, I want to change. I don't want to just talk about it. How did you get to the action phase? You know what I mean?
um, I I think like it's gonna sound really fucked up, but I was very suicidal, especially like when I was at my heaviest, and I really just didn't want to be here anymore. And I
Hmm.
remember the reason for it is like I just started asking myself like why do you hate yourself? Why do you want to like or the reason I wanted to kill myself was because I hated myself. I just didn't like who I was at that moment.
Hmm.
And I realized like, you know, why do you hate yourself? I'm not doing what I want to be doing right now. I'm not where others are at. I was also like comparing myself to others way too much at the time. Now, which now I'm a lot better at. But I think it's like, that imposter syndrome that a lot of people deal with and they don't realize it. But I think for me, I just didn't like who I was at the time. And it was either, you know, you change or you don't. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like I think I was also struggling with like, the recent events that had happened in my life at the time too. That was just perpetually like keeping me in a depression. And I think
Hmm.
really what changed was, you know, changing like I never really had a victim mindset per se, but like, just being like, oh, woe is me, like the shit that life throws at you sucks, yada yada yada. Well, it
Hmm.
does. It does, and it's never gonna go away. So I
So,
think for me it was just you can either swim with the waves life throws at you or you can drown. And it's, like it it like I said, it's a really fucked up way to look at it, but, like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, if I were gone, like, yeah, you guys would care,
hmm.
I will be missed, I know that, but in the grand scheme of things, like, you know, I'm a speck in the universe, like, I don't you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody who's hearing that, but ultimately, life will keep going on no matter what. So it's either you
Yeah,
can surmount to the challenge
right.
or you can you know what I mean? It's
I
really
do.
just like, it really is a fucked up and, like, morbid way to look at it, but it just I think it's just the acceptance of what life is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not life, it sucks, and it's never not gonna suck, You can only really dampen it as much as you can, and
Well,
that's ultimately up to you.
yeah, I think you're right. And I think that it's one of those things where life somebody once told me and I've always loved this analogy because I think this describes life at least it makes sense to me, right? It's an individual thing. And somebody said in life you're either coming up to a storm, going through a storm, or coming out of the storm. And
Yep.
so that's just the cycle of life. And I think that that's true. So I kind of look at it differently. I don't look at it so much as that life sucks as much as I think my best analogy I think is it's like such an individual thing. Like wrestling is an individual thing, you know? And I feel like how you view the world is also an individual thing.
For me, a lot of it was like Buddhism, right? I just I don't remember. It wasn't like on purpose, but I just like was reading stuff about Buddhism, and their view on life is suffering,
Yeah.
and that's just, you know what I mean. I think a lot of people misconstrue like what that really means. Like it's not saying like, oh, life is terrible, but oftentimes like the suffering is what makes life worth living for. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because like, if there is a perfect world, like nothing would be good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's what makes like, like love or family, or like you cherish that more because it's finite. It's not
Hmm.
infinite. So,
Well, I think too, I remember I think um I want to say it was Corey. I'm not going to say full names because I don't have, you know, any disclosures, so I don't want to mention people's names that they don't want to be
fair
mentioned.
enough.
However, I think you know who I'm talking about. So
Mhm.
I remember Corey telling me at one point too, and I clung to this because it's so true. Like the Native Americans believe that anything that we make has imperfections,
Mhm.
and that's part of the beauty of whatever it is that they're making. You know what I mean? Like whether it's a jewelry, art, whatever, there's imperfections. And the creator created us with imperfections too. And that's what I guess is beautiful about it is our imperfections.
I think
So if we figure out a way to embrace that,
mhm. Yeah.
right, makes life a little more palatable.
I think for me, like I said, like I didn't at the time I didn't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And I like again, this is a really fucked up way of viewing it, but I was like, well, I don't want to be here because I hate myself. Okay, well,
Hmm.
if I hate myself, then I'm not gonna just give myself the quick, easy way out. You know,
Right.
life is suffering. Just suffer.
Right.
Like that sounds so messed up, but it's just the truth. Like and to me, that suffering, like that's me going to the gym. That's me there's days like I'm on the treadmill doing cardio. I hate it. It
Right.
hurts. I want to
Right.
get off as soon as possible, but I have to do it.
Right.
So, and also another quote, like I was telling mom about it, it really helped me is ask not for lighter burdens, but ask for broader shoulders.
Hmm.
And that has helped me a lot.
Which I remember you saying that, and I actually like that quote. I've actually begun using it as well because I think that there is something to that. Like I think it's easy to whine about what is coming at us, but I think if we look at it correctly, like it's the whole jars half empty,
Hmm.
jars half full analogy. So, right, you can look at it like it's half empty and think about like, oh, this is bullshit, life sucks, whatever, and it does at times, you know. But then you can also look at it the glass half full analogy, which is like, I can get through this. This is going to help me be stronger, or there's a different way that you can flip your thinking about that, and it doesn't make the experience maybe any more enjoyable, but you can at least get through that with a positive attitude and maybe grow a little bit through the process, if that makes any sense.
No, no, and I used to like, I usually used to hate like cliche quotes and but like it's so true. Like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and it
Hmm.
anything that will just build your mental fortitude will keep you going through life. I think
Hmm.
I think and a lot of people have that like mindset. Well, oh, like I've been through this and it's worse than what you know. And I think actually Shawnee had said that when we hung out with him that one time. He said, "Well, like your worst moment is your worst moment, where someone
Hmm.
else's worst moment is theirs, and it doesn't. There's no comparison." And
Right.
I guess I never thought of it like that until he had said that. So shout out to Shawnee for changing my
Yeah,
point of view on that. But
and that's cool.
um,
I love that when that happens. Not, you know what I mean?
yeah, and it's just it sucks. Life sucks. It's going to suck. It's always going to suck.
Hmm.
But it's about how you adapt. I mean, and also too, like I just, especially getting into like, you know, lifting and health and stuff. I mean, learning about the human anatomy, we're literally built to adapt to anything we can.
Right.
I mean, it might take a million years, like,
Right.
but um, for the most part, I think like mentally, we are way more kitted to adapt to things than we know we are.
Yeah,
And
I
I
would
mean,
agree.
even like the military and what's the philosophy? Like your brain like shuts down after like using 40% of something, and then once you push through you have a whole nother like 60%, and then you get into like the flow state or whatever. I forget how like they word it exactly, but that's something too. Like once you just I for me, like I said, it's like getting into that flow state. It's acceptance that like when I'm on the treadmill and my legs hurt and I have like 10 more minutes left, I'm thinking to myself, man, this fucking sucks and I want to get off. But um mentally, what I do is I just, once you remove hesitation, then you just do.
Yep.
When I think ultimately that's helped me a lot out with a lot of aspects of my life. When you just mentally tell yourself that you don't have a choice, that it's do or die,
Right.
your body will adapt. And I think that's like, I've heard a lot of people who like motivational speakers talk about that stuff. When like I said, your body adapts to anything, and when it adapts best when your back is to the wall and you don't have a choice. So when you convince yourself mentally that you don't have a choice, your body will adapt and you will do. And I think that's when that you push through to that 60%. And you can do so much more than you. I mean, like humans can lift cars, but our brain suppresses that.
Right.
So it's just
Well, sure.
unlocking
Because
that flow state.
there's those I've watched the like the strongest man competitions and
Yep.
whatnot, where you got dudes that are pulling uh the tractors, tractor trailers, they're pulling them down the street, so it is incredible. And I think you're right. I think that it's when you put your mind to something in, then you are maybe halfway there, I guess, because
Mhm.
yeah, you got to do the training to get the stamina on the car, there obviously I know that too. And but what I'm really hearing you say is that it first starts with you got to change the mind. The
Yep.
mindset has to change. You have to start looking at things differently. Once you start looking at things differently, then you can start adapting the physical, right? And that's where some of that transformation came from, because you were in this dark state, and from that dark state you decided like I need to change something here. And then that change started to come, right?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, when you're cornered and you have your back to the wall, your brain will convince itself of way more than it ever thought that it could do. Because you don't have a choice. When you're like, oh, I'll go to the gym today. Maybe I'll go tomorrow. I don't really feel like it, and then I'll go tomorrow, and never tomorrow never comes.
Exactly.
And that's how it was for me for like years. I wanted to like get in shape. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still trying to do better. I'm not where I want to be yet, but
Well, that's
it's
the joy, I think, of life, is that,
mhm,
you do get to continue,
yeah.
that journey.
You just gotta like like for me going to the gym. Like I at first, a lot of people struggled with the same thing. Like going to the gym sucks. Like I hate working out. It hurts. But when you just tell yourself you don't have a choice but to do it and you
Mhm.
do it, and like it just starts falling into motion. It's like a domino effect. You'll
Yeah, you
just
are,
keep
it's
going.
true. Yeah, you're right. And not to interrupt, but just to kind of circle in on that thought too for a minute, because I think that's something valuable that you said, and that, damn it, and now I lost the thought. But, oh, what was it that you just said? Rewind. I wish I could rewind it back, but then it wouldn't be live
Shit,
anymore.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, okay. Well, I lost the thought. I'm sure it'll come back. But I was so focused on that, and then I was like, "Damn it." I wanted to go with that for a minute. But no, I think that yeah, the changing the mindset, and then that's what it is too, not allowing yourself the to tap out, because I
Yep.
think that's the hard
Yep.
part too, because I think I'm stuck there in a sense, and I'm trying really hard to change that, because um, I have felt that I haven't been, I work in IT, obviously. Um, I sit a lot, unfortunately. There's not a lot of movement to what I do. And
Mhm.
so I feel like for me, it's important to really get moving, especially at my age. And I've noticed, coming back to what you said, that it's the mind that gets in the way. I'll start tomorrow. I'm gonna have that one
Yeah.
extra slice of pizza tonight, or I'm just gonna snack on these chips tonight, and then tomorrow, and like you said, tomorrow never comes. So I've started to also realize myself, like, hey, if you really want to make positive change, then it has to start now, not tomorrow. And that's kind of where I was coming
Well,
back to.
and I love studying like anatomy and like hormones. I love like just like understanding how like your brain works essentially. Like your body will your brain will convince you, try and get like, oh, I want to go do this tonight. Well, actually A B C D, well, it'll like be a whole list of why you can't or why you shouldn't.
Right.
Is almost like a survival instinct to you know and then when you just do and just you get rid of the hesitation part of it,
Right.
even if that small percentile chance of something will go wrong, your brain, like I said, you have hormones like adrenaline. Your body is capable of adapting very quickly to even just horrible situations.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I just kind of like, life's gonna happen regardless. Like mom, I mean, she's helicopter like mom. You know what I mean? So she's like, oh, like what if you crash? What if you like don't go to Syracuse here? What if you get into a car accident? I'm like, I don't know, mom.
Right.
I guess I'll die. I don't know. Like
Well,
she hates when I say that, but it's like, is that gonna stop me
when she
from living?
listens back to this.
Yeah. No, it's
No, I
just
understand what you're saying too, though.
it's just getting those small percentile chance like things,
Yeah.
scenarios that are gonna happen out of your head. Because what if they do happen? Some of those, yeah, like if I drive somewhere and die in a car crash, like I'll either end up severely injured, not injured at all, or dead. What am I gonna do about either of those
Right.
situations? You know what I mean? It's gonna come and go whether it wants to or not. And so it's just adapting and dealing with whatever situation is put in front of me.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's not gonna stop me from living life anymore. Because
Right.
I used to be like, I never wanted to do anything just out of like fear and shit. And
Yeah.
it stopped
Absolutely.
me from, living life, and that caused a lot of depression itself.
Yep. Yep. I would agree with that because I think, um, what was, I think, yeah, you can live by fear and anxiety, which I've done. You know, what if it's not good enough? What the podcast is a great example, right? If I if I never do the podcast, then I never have to worry about whether it's good or not.
Mhm.
But I'm also craving that um, creative outlet, so I can either put it out there and be a little vulnerable
Mhm.
and deal with those that don't like it, but also get the reward of those who do,
Yeah.
right? Or I can just never do it. And it's like, so we can't let our fears and our anxieties kind of hold us back from
Well, and that's like
doing, I
been the
guess.
same case for me with music. Like as much time as I have spent like growing and like, honing my craft, I guess. I've spent just as much time being like, oh, like I don't want to do this. Like I don't want to, I'm scared of judgment. Like I don't want people, and it sucks because I know that like the music I listen to and stuff is very niche.
Right.
Um so like I know that people aren't gonna like it, and I'm not even really a people pleaser, but I don't like, I guess, upsetting people. I don't know. It is such a mental battle because it's like I don't want to have people view me in a certain way, but I don't want to be viewed how I am right now for the rest of my life either. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's sometimes you just have to succumb yourself to whatever life will throw your way. And it's like I said, I could, like right now, if I decide, yep, I'm hanging up, I'm gonna sell my guitars, I'm done with music. I'll live the rest of my life in fucking regret that I didn't do what I wanted to
Right.
do. And is that worth more than the opinions of others?
Right.
No. So
Yeah. No, and I think that's the thing. And I think it's hard because I think it's, we all, there is I think, innate part of us that, well, because, yeah, we're human, so we need love. So I know where this is coming from,
mhm,
right? There's an innate part of us that wants I don't know if it's accolades or we like it when other people tell us that they enjoy something that we've done,
yeah,
right? Whether whether it's music, whether it's art, whatever our gift is and how we show that, I guess, right? we all want acceptance in some small way, but we also have to deal with the fact that, we're not going to get that from everyone, and
Yeah.
there's going to be critics,
Mhm.
and you do have to have kind of a tough skin or tough mental health kind of thing to understand. I mean, I don't understand how some of these celebrities deal with some of the people
I
that they
can't
have to deal
either.
with. It's insane what they have to go through. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, and for me, that's a struggle is because, like, I do, like, post the occasional, like, guitar cover or whatever,
Right.
but in my opinion, like, the stuff that I can write on my own is, like, you know, it like, just posting the covers isn't enough for me, like, I need people really, like, my goal of being a musician is I wanna be known and respected for, like, what I can do. That's, like, my, I guess, end goal and my dream, like, I just wanna be known and respected for what I'm capable of, and not showing what I'm capable of isn't doing me, any justice for that. So
Right.
it, I guess it's just like that fear of being judged. I mean, it sucks, but I think I've worked tremendously a lot, especially on like lately on that, and just like last night, like I posted that poll of like what
Yeah, that's so
that
cool.
took a lot more than you'd probably think to just even post that
Yeah,
because
you're putting
and
yourself
I
out
did
there.
that on purpose. Like so the I still have a lot to work on just those like two songs, but it's it's kind of like just getting that ball rolling,
Mhm.
right? Like once it starts rolling, now you don't have a choice but to just you know what I
Right.
mean? So that's kind of like that to me was just forcing it out of me. So now I'm not like I'm on a time limit, but it's like, all right, now I really need to just like
Put it.
lock the fuck in
Yeah,
and just
get
you
it
know
in
what I
gear.
mean? So it's
Well,
it's
and that
it's forcing
motivation is
change.
good. Yeah, that motivation is good.
For me, it was like going to like the gym for the first time. It's just that zero hesitation, spontaneous. All right, I'm gonna do this.
Right.
And now I'm committed, and I don't have a choice.
Yep.
It's
I'm committed.
like once you just get rid of that hesitation and just the doubt, and now I mean I've at this point with like the music thing, now people know it's coming soon.
Yeah.
Now I'm no matter what, I'm gonna have to just be like, all right, I can deal with the pressure of it or whatever.
So let's
And
switch gears a little bit because I think that this is great. So, I'm going to summarize a little bit too what I'm hearing because I think what you're saying is so good, and I think that um, the change, and this is the change and the growth and all of those things that have come along for you in the last year or 2 years, really, I think is just incredible. And so you've really worked on the mental health component in it, and then
mhm,
that has translated to also working onto the physical component of that.
mhm,
And I think that transformation is incredible. I mean, so you've gone through a mind transformation, you've gone through a body transformation, which is absolutely incredible. But now one of the things that I think and is absolutely incredible is you're an accomplished guitar player at this point, learning production, all on your own. But I did get to hear the tracks that you're talking about today. And I got to tell you, I am super excited about your music. But yeah, let's plug your music a little bit. So, because we've talked about like this glow up, which I think
mhm.
is really awesome. But I want to hear about the music too a little bit because some the stuff you're coming up with is pretty incredible.
Well, and a lot of that music has to do with just like that transformation phase. I love like for me, it's I listen to mostly metal, but I love like the metal songs that are like mostly about like emotional things. Like I love just those like hate anthems that are just like you just
Yeah.
scream. But I also
Well,
just
give us an
love
example. So give me, all right, top three favorite bands. Or actually, no, let's not say favorite bands because maybe it's not the same. Maybe it is. Top three influential bands to your playing or to your
uh,
style of music. What do you think?
so we were just talking right before we started recording Whitechapel, obviously.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs of all time from Whitechapel is Lost Boy. I mean, just the story that he has and shares, about his childhood is insane.
Right.
And just how much, you know what I mean? It's so emotional. And that to me, that's like, I'm a big, like, I almost like it when lyrics aren't like so direct and like they tell you what it means because I'm able to listen to that song and relate to it in my own way and like understand what I like how I feel about this song and how it like relates to my struggles or you know what I mean. So that to me is the biggest part of music, and I love I mean, I don't like Tool level lyrics where they're just so like out there and complex.
Oh,
You know what I
see,
mean?
now,
I mean, I
that's
do,
where we
but
would differ a little bit because I absolutely love Tool, and I love that. One of the things that I love about is pay no attention to the phone up in the corner. I was just taking a quick picture. I know this is the beauty of podcasts. Nobody can see what I'm doing, so Maddox is talking, and I just out of the corner bring my phone up to kind of take a picture because I'm really one excited about the studio, and two I like to try to get different pictures for the episodes up. So
and they don't see
that's
I'm looking on my phone. I'm trying to look at like songs and stuff, for
right.
examples.
Yeah. So the question was top three influential bands. Whitechapel for sure. Specifically the album Kin, which I agree with you, is
Mm,
one of my
just
favorite albums
fantastic
from
album,
Whitechapel. Oh yeah,
all
God, yeah,
all through.
absolutely
Um,
incredible.
Currents, any album, any song, they they are my top one artist right now. Currents, um, they're another one. Like you really
Yeah.
feel the lyrics and just the weight of the instrumental. Like it's so. I know it's kind of like stupid to say, but like you really feel their music and just how they portray it.
Right.
It's so well done, and a lot of their lyrics, I mean, are about I think childhood struggle. I think I don't know, but that's how I relate to it at least, and what I get from the lyrics and how I read them. Like it sounds like it's a lot about like struggle, and then also like at the same time like climbing that mountain and like becoming like a better, higher version of yourself.
Right.
So um, that's another one, and uh, I mean, it's so hard because I have so many like bands and shit I listen
Right.
to. I mean,
Well, I know you talk about Will Putney a lot
mhm.
from my gosh, the
Shout out
name.
Will Putney.
Yeah, shout out to Will Putney. Oh God, what is the band though?
Fit for an Autopsy.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're amazing
which you just
too.
got to see in
Uh,
October,
that was an awesome show. That
right?
was amazing.
But he doesn't actually play with them live, right? He's just a studio
I don't
kind
think he
of.
does anymore. Or I don't even know if
Did
he
he
ever
used
did.
to?
I don't know. Actually, I think so. I'm not really sure, but he's just insane musician as well.
Yeah.
Um, shit. I'm trying to look for another bit. I can't decide. I have so many. Um,
Well, how would this make it easier then? What about would it be easier if I said influential guitar players or guitarists? Or is that
that's
harder?
also a
Does that
hard
make it
question.
harder? That makes it harder.
Well, the thing is, because I write deathcore music, because I do love those just fucking brutal hate anthems too. Just as much, but I also love like I'll just throw it in Lorna Shore. I don't know if you've listened to the Pain Remains album, but oh my god, that Pain Remains one, Dancing Like a Flame or Dancing Like the Flames, however it's called, one of the saddest songs of all time. It's so just dreary and just sad, but like such a beautiful song. I don't know if you've listened to it. I highly
I
recommend it.
haven't. You know, I have to say that I love I love metalcore music and deathcore music. But what happens for me is so I'll get into it and I'll listen to it nonstop. For example, 156 Silence, right?
Yeah,
I
can't do a sin.
listened to all of their albums, first track to last track, shuffled them, on nonstop. And then all of a sudden, I just get to this point where, in like the last couple of weeks, it's not I complete 180. I've been listening to bluegrass, which because it's just I'm just such a fan of music in general.
Yeah.
Like I just, especially when it's talented musicians. I don't care what genre of music you play. If you're good at your craft, you're good at your craft, and you
Mm.
feel that. At least for me,
Yeah,
that's
no,
you
I
know what I mean.
agree.
And so yeah, so it's crazy. So a lot of the bands that you list, I've probably listened to them maybe a little bit before, but I can't say like, oh yeah, I have because I go in these weird spurts. Like I was on a Grateful Dead kick, and then went to Sleep Token, and then went
Yeah.
to Deftones because there was a Sleep Token. You know what I mean? And I end up in these. Yeah, I could go on for a while about that.
For
So we'll just
me,
drop that right
I
there.
love, um, I guess the best word for it is grief. I love songs, just individual songs, not even bands that just like they're not even necessarily sad songs, but they just convey like a sadness to it. Like Boundaries,
Hmm.
their newest album is fucking insanely good. It's so good. I'm wearing a Boundaries hoodie as we
Yeah,
speak.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
their new album, and that's the main theme of it is grief, And grief to me is, well, I mean, just in general, it's a huge combination of feelings. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just one. It's the whole spectrum of, emotion, and songs that can
Well,
go from like talking about things that are sad, but also explain how they're grateful for it happening. You know what I mean? It's just like it's
yeah,
like a weird
no, it's true, and you're
thing, but
right because it demonstrates because there's the stages of grief, right?
yep,
Which I used to know,
yep,
from being a counselor in the past. I used to know the stages. I'd have to look at a piece of paper and go through. But you're exactly right. There's
mhm.
stages that you go through.
And I just
And
love
and
songs that show like they like go through those stages. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Sometimes in order, sometimes out. Sometimes it's only like three stages of the grief instead of the whole five. Or I just love those songs that it's because it's almost like a conclusion for
Yep,
it. Like it's not just anger. It's not just sadness. It's that whole like array of
yeah.
you know.
Which we were just talking about the Whitechapel albums, which
Mhm.
I think was one of the things that I really identified with Ken, and then the album after, which I just drew a blank on. I'll have to look it up, but you know what I'm talking about. The newest album. It's got the blue cover.
That's Ken.
Oh, I'm talking about Hickory Creek. Now, I'm sorry.
Oh, the Valley. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
Valley, Hickory
Yeah.
Creek.
That's also
See,
a great album.
yeah, man. So my point being is, um, now that I've slaughtered that, my point is that I like both of those albums because of the story, and then
Mhm.
so you've got the beginning of the story with the Valley, and then the continuation and conclusion and the Kin, and they exactly what you just said, kind of go through the whole gamut of emotion.
And I love that you actually say that because like the Valley for me, I mean, like songs like "Forgiveness is Weakness," like talking about how he's glad that I think it was his abusive stepfather or whatever was dead, and then like going to Kin where he's kind of coming to that acceptance that like his parents are gone, and then that
Yeah,
forgiveness almost that like
he
he
didn't
he
think he could do.
understands that he was given like a shit stack of cards for life, but how he dealt it. You know what I mean? Like that's just
Yeah,
how what I get from it anyways. I mean it could be a completely different meaning. I don't know. But for me that's like how I relate to it is just, you know, he was thrown into a very traumatic upbringing and the way he's adapted and overcome that. And you really see that in Kin where like it's like a whole like 180 resolution moment almost with those songs.
right.
Um and yeah.
And that's the beauty of music,
Mhm.
because then you notice or start to realize, like, I'm not alone in some of these thoughts. I'm not alone in some of this stuff. And I think that to me is what the importance of music is. And kind of going back to that whole change that we were talking about at the beginning, and well, whatever that you're going through your
Mhm.
glow up and what tripping over my words today. Um, going through that probably because we talked for like 4 hours before we even did this. Excuse me, everybody. I apologize for that. But no, that kind of also ties in with that whole glow up and that whole change, is then you start to realize that you're not alone in these things, and that there are other people who have experienced these lows. And even though all of our experiences may different, like you mentioned before, like we only know what we know,
Mhm.
which is I love sayings like that, right? We only know what we know or whatever, but it's true, you
No, it
know,
is.
it's true. And music gives us the ability to identify on, another level. So, and I think that's what's so important. And what makes me so excited about you doing it.
No, me too. And like I've kept my life pretty private. I mean, like some people know like this stuff I've been through, but I'm not like the type to be like, oh, like I went through this or you know what I mean. But I mean, I mean, I was in and out of the hospital for panic disorder.
Right.
I ended up getting um was prescribed or not prescribed.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Medications and whatnot, right?
well,
Is that what
well,
you're,
that too, but just like being told I had panic disorder and having
oh,
to
I see.
deal with that.
Right.
I still deal with that to this day. I mean, the constant hormonal imbalances, the electrolyte imbalances that come with it, which is like, weird to even think about. But, my whole life has changed from that. And, it has caused a great deal of grief to have that, to bear that weight, I guess, because
Mhm.
I'm going to have it the rest of my life. And it
Right.
sucks. But ultimately for me, I think it just pushes me to be greater. You know what I mean? Be greater than your suffering. I think
Hmm.
it just, um, I don't. I just want to be better than, like I don't want to let it hold me down. But
Right.
to me, like, the panic disorder, and I write a lot about that in my music too, and just like, it for me, I'm like I mean, I'm just like mom. I'm very bullheaded. I fucking dig my heels in, and that's
Mhm.
a lot about like what the music's about too. Is just like it's grieving what is what has come in my life,
Yeah.
and just learning how to deal with it. But also, some of the songs are just straight up fucking angry, like fuck this, I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't know.
Right.
It's just like I'm so flip floppy with the
Yeah,
vibe
but
of like what my music is about. I want to convey that like I can be sad and like grieve something, and then like on another song be happy about the same thing, and then on
right.
another song be angry about the exact same thing too. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
no.
a whole
Right, it's
spectrum of
running,
emotion.
yeah. And I think that's the beauty of music is it's very cathartic,
Hmm.
so that's I think yeah, that to me is what the beauty of music is. And I think when you're an artist, and this is the hardest part, when you're an artist, I feel like sometimes you struggle with you feel like the weight of the world is on you sometimes.
Hmm.
I think most musicians are, dare I say, empaths in a sense.
Yeah, a
We
hundred
we
percent.
take in all of this feeling and energy from a
Hmm.
room, from a place, and we need a creative place to put it. For you, it's through your guitar playing and you're writing it music.
Hmm.
For me, at one time, it was also creating music, but now it's this. It's like
Hmm.
pouring my creative energy into this and having and also longing for these deeper connections and conversations.
Well, and I'm glad you said that because, like, I mean, I showed you some of the songs earlier. I showed you the main two that I plan on releasing first, but also, some others that, like one of them, I said I'm going to push that back because the main theme in the title, I'm not going to say what the title is or what,
Mhm, mhm.
but it is, I don't, it's like, I guess, like, it's got some shock factor to it
Mhm.
almost, but I don't want to release that first because, I don't want people to be like, um, oh, like he's just like trying too hard to be edgy or some shit. Like it's
Yeah, no,
because not everyone's gonna understand like the conveying of the feeling or like the phrase that the title is, or you know what I mean. Like
right,
it is a little appalling, but it's like it's not artificial. Is what I'm trying to
right.
say. It's
Well,
just it is what it is. You know what I
and
mean?
I
But I
think
don't want to like shock people a little too hard and
right,
just come out the gates like and drive people to be like ugh. You know?
right. No, I get it. That's the business and marketing kind of
Yeah.
side of,
Yeah.
where do I put things? Yeah, absolutely. I understand what you say because and I also think there's art that we do kind of for ourselves, and then there's art that we do to put out to the masses.
Yep.
And even though there are there are songs that I've written that I haven't shown anybody.
Mhm.
And it's not that the intention is to never show, but maybe they're just a little more personal and I wasn't ready or am not ready for people to hear those. But then there's these other songs that I have that are still personal,
Mhm.
but I don't mind so much being vulnerable in those songs to other. So I get it. Is that what that's what you're
Yeah,
talking
no,
about,
no, that's
right?
exactly yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just it's like for instance, like that song "Forgiveness is Weakness"
Right.
from White by Whitechapel. It's a very angry song about like him being glad that someone's dead.
Right.
Like to someone, if like at face value that sounds really like fucked up and just like stupid, you know what I mean? But
Right.
like you really think about it and you get the context behind that song, then you
Well,
understand the feeling that that conveys more and you understand like the reasoning for you know what I mean? And
hmm
there's just
hmm
more to it. Like if you were to listen to the other songs on the Value or the Kin and get context about the artist's life, or even just like not just what you pick up from the songs, and then go back and listen to it, then you'll understand more on why like it's just you know
right.
um like it's a very angry song, but that that song, is just one stage of grief that the other songs in the album also convey. It's just not as like appalling, I guess. Like
Yeah.
it's
No, I hear what you're saying. I also think though, if we really want to, and this is the problem, I think, and I this is kind of a good segue for another part of this, I think. my thought is though is that yes, there are always going to be those people who point out like, oh, that's terrible. That's a terrible thing to say without understanding maybe the backstory to it or whatever. But I think if people are going to be completely 100% honest, there probably hasn't been a time in your life where you haven't said like, "Oh, that fucker! I wish they would drop that" or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me, I'm very sorry, but I think that that's a real thought. Now, it doesn't mean that you really want, but who hasn't said that, thought that, whatever? You know what I mean? So if we're going to be
Well,
honest about it, yeah, it sounds pretty insane, but at the same time, we've also
well,
done that,
and this is why
thought
I
that
am
at some point.
playing my cards in a certain way because like my only guaranteed audience are like the people I went to school with and the people I have on social media and stuff, which 90% of them are not metalheads.
hmm
So I
Yeah,
don't,
that's tough too.
they're not used to those extreme like
Yeah,
themes, I guess.
right.
And like the one, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just, I don't want to, like, they're my only guaranteed audience right now
Yeah,
until I, like, because I do plan on like putting stuff out on social media, online. Like, I want to create a space where like people who like my music will also listen to my music when it comes out. But
absolutely.
until then, I can't just scare off my only guaranteed audience. You know,
Right.
which I'm sure some of them over time will leave. Some of them might get even more intrigued. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But I don't want to like come out swinging with these crazy themes and like where they don't understand. Where I feel like
Mhm.
the
Give
metal,
people an
I
introduction.
feel like metal as a genre, the fans are far different from like rap or country or pop, where it's just the lyrics are just very like non-direct, and it's just like how you think about it. You know what I mean? Like it's like a
Right.
because you're right. Like there's like bands like Cannibal Corpse who are like 90% of their songs are about like killing people and mutilating corpses and
Yeah,
shit.
eating them and whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But like then you look at Corpse Grinder, the vocalist, he's donating little kids' toys on Christmas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so
Well,
just it's an art. Like
it's an art form.
yeah.
It's a horror movie set to. Wait, let me rewind. It's a horror movie set to, music. Instead, it's just a different art form.
It's just
Instead of the visual, you're getting a
yeah. It's just a
auditory.
way of expressing
Right.
inner feeling, and it doesn't even like mean that. Like
No.
I doubt like I mean I don't know maybe, but I doubt like Corpse Grinder goes home and is like, yeah, dude, I just want to kill someone. Or, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like that's I doubt it. But it's just he probably just loves that like horror fantasy or
Right.
you know what I mean? Or it's just like an outlet for his anger or some
Exactly.
shit. But
Right. It's like, yeah, you got to have that. But I also think that, it's like there's different styles of lyrics I think that
Mhm.
people write too. Like there's people like there's bands, for example, and I can't think of any at the top of my head because I'm always horrible about being on the spot with this stuff. But there's bands who write like fantasy lyrics, right?
Yeah.
Amon Amarth, right, writes a lot
Mhm.
about Viking tales and
and
whatnot.
sagas and shit.
Right. And
yeah.
then you've got other artists like Whitechapel, who we've been bringing up, and yourself. I think we should, plug that too, that are writing more personal lyrics. And so there's different, and so everybody, that's the beauty of music too, is everybody can find what they like in an artist. And I think that's why we identify with artists. But I think what I hear you saying is that not everybody may identify with your music, but they're getting a real representation of you.
I mean, I think like I'm not gonna generalize because you're right. There are still bands like Amon Amarth who like their lyrics are very face value, and then there's I think like at least for the metal that I listen to because it's such a huge umbrella term, but like for what I listen to many bands and a lot of them have that like similarity of just like that very openness to thought. I guess like the just like they don't take everything at face value and they just think like okay maybe like Phil Bozeman wanting to kill his stepdad. Like, I doubt that he really wants to kill anybody, but he's expressing that anger and that resentment and that grief
Right.
towards him. And I just think like, and I'm not saying other genre, like fans of other genres of music don't do that. I just think it's a stylish thing, like a style thing, and also
Right.
just like a culture thing in a way. Like, you know, so I'm not saying like, oh, you don't listen to metal, so you can't like conceptualize lyrics. And I'm not saying that. I think
No, right.
it's just my observation, I guess, in a way. But I don't want to like show a bunch of like Taylor Swift fans like deathcore about like you know what I mean.
Hey,
Like,
maybe we'll get them. Maybe we'll get them over to the dark side. You never know.
I love that. That'd be awesome.
right?
And honestly too, like I've had a lot of people who I never would have expected to be open, like into that music, like talk to me and stuff, and be very supportive with me. Like, yeah, like I can't wait to like see what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
people I never would have thought would even like give it time of day. Like that. That's pretty cool. Like yesterday, I had people like sliding up my story asking to hear my stuff, and I felt bad because I do want to show people, but I don't want to. It's just a little too early right now.
well,
So
right, yeah. You know, it's uh, it's one of those things where it's like it, it all flows when it's time.
yep,
I
yep,
think, and you can't rush the creative process. Is part of the
100%.
is part of the hard part in that too. But at the same time, I think that what you're doing by putting out a tidbit about it is keeping the fire lit, keeping the
Yep.
because like I think I talked about it. I think it's a common struggle. I think is what I'm trying to say. And when I was doing the podcast last week, and I talked about like I didn't want to do a trailer per se because I tend to do trailers and then never release any content. So,
Mhm.
I said, well, this time, as raw as the episode might be, I'm going to release it because it's about committing to it. And I think
Yep.
that you're doing that in your way with like, this is me committing to it because I'm telling people that I've got a product here,
Mhm.
right? And I want them to, hear it. And this is also giving me a timeline of like I've got to deliver.
Like I said, it's just forcing myself to no longer have that hesitation in the back of my head
Yep.
and the excuse. Well, I can't be like, oh, well, I need to learn how to use this plugin first, or you know what I mean. Like I no longer have that excuse.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's just forcing myself to be like, all right,
it's time
it's
to do
time.
it. And like I said, I've heard the stuff
Mm,
and it's incredible. It's
thank
incredible.
you.
No, and I'm not just saying that. Like I really stood back. Not and I not that I was surprised because I know I've seen the videos that you've released of covers and stuff. So
Mm,
it's like I knew the talent was there, but when you actually play it back and really get to hear what somebody's been working on, it's like, wow, that's really incredible.
no,
And so I felt I got like I listened back to each of those tracks, all those tracks, even the ones that you've said are unfinished yet. They're sounding incredible. So I'm really
thank
excited.
you.
So I want to build that excitement a little bit to anybody who's listening too, is wait until you hear the stuff because it is really good. And that's not I mean, judge for yourself, but I'm fucking telling you, it's good.
And it made my day. I was showing like some of my friends last night the song I was doing, and just to hear them say like this exceeded my expectations made me happier because I dealt with a lot of like depression about like because I've been telling people I'm going to release music for years,
Yeah.
but I did, and I know this now that I bit off way more than I can chew. Like I was a guitar player mostly, like this entire time I've been a musician, but now I'm doing like
Right.
barely guitar. It's now I'm programming drums, bass, synth, you know, automating like MIDI fucking patches and you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
vocals. It's learning how to use the software, plugin, production. It's mixing, mastering. Like it's so many things
Right.
other than guitar. Guitar is like the very basics of it for me now. And to it took way I like what was it like 16, 18-year-old me like yeah I want to release music like this can't be that hard and then I'm like oh fuck it's
It
actually
is.
way harder than I thought.
No, I know. I had a similar experience with that, forever ago. I can't remember how old I was, but that was 20 something. And, I had played in bands
Mhm.
and I had the live music and band playing experience,
Mhm.
but similar to you, never had a recording experience. And I
Yeah,
think it's fair to say that being a performance musician or even just a songwriter who likes to
yeah,
fuck around and like I was just somebody who liked to fuck around on the acoustic guitar and
mhm.
and write songs. But then when you commit those to a record or to, whatever, I don't know what in my mind a record, when you record it and commit that to a recording,
Yeah,
that's very different because now you got to worry about EQ
yeah.
and sounds and
Well,
it's a yeah,
and
it's
for
it's a lot.
me,
It's a lot.
like I cherish my songs a lot. Like to me, like I look at it like a legacy thing, right? Like you know what I mean? Like there are songs that like Nirvana, like Kurt Cobain will always be known for like, Nevermind, and you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the songs on that, like he's written countless other amazing songs, but that's what he's known for. That's what his legacy is. And a lot of musicians struggle from like hating that, and I really want to make sure I don't do that.
Right.
You know, like I'm kind of like self-perfuming. Like I really, and I was telling him before this podcast, it took me a while to figure out. I've had a lot of song ideas for the longest time right now, and it was just kind of like I already knew that whatever I release first isn't going to be the best quality it can be because I'm still learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew that I didn't want to. I've had a lot of good ideas that I really love and I'm very proud of, and I don't want to not have them the best they can be. So it's like choosing like what lamb is up to the slaughter first. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But I don't want it to be shit either at the same time. But I don't want it to be too good where I'm like, fuck, this is like a song that like I really want to be done perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
no, I
so
get it.
I think it's taken me time to kind of build a roadmap,
Yep.
like what I want to do first. And so I'm comfortable with what I'm about to put out. Um I still think like I've at least with like the producing part, the two songs, I think I've done a pretty good job. I think like even
Oh
though
my
they're not
gosh,
the
I think you've
best
done
that they could
incredible.
be, I
Yeah.
think I'm very happy with like my ability to produce like with what I've come up with.
Right.
So I'm comfortable
And
now.
and honestly, to kind of wrap this all together too, I mean, this is all part of that glow up that we were
Hmm.
talking about too, like the maturity and how you're approaching these things and whatnot. Now, the one piece of advice that I do think is that I want to put out there is somebody who also has that creative mind is that it's very easy to get into our own heads about it
Hmm.
not being good enough because I almost think the curse of creativeness is perfectionism.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
I
well,
struggle with that so much, and I think especially this last, I won't even say year, probably the last 3 months, I've especially just like, and I said, and this is why I like posted that last night, and just it's a commitment. It's like, all right, I'm succumbing myself to whatever is to come next.
yeah,
It's accepting whatever's gonna happen with it. So whether it's gonna be bad, whether it's gonna be good, it's gonna be what it is, and it's just the acceptance of that,
yeah,
and I think that's what it is. I really I agree. Like it really like goes into the self growth part of it. It's just learning to be because I'm very like self conscious about
hmm
everything I do. I'm
oh
very
my god, yeah,
calculated. I
I
think about
understand.
every little detail of anything I
Oh,
do, how I am with people.
it's exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do it too. I do it too.
I'm gonna watch this podcast and want to throw up later and be like, oh, I stuttered, or or you know what I mean,
No,
like,
no. Well,
or I took too long of a pause speaking, or
hey, listen, I'm going to tell you real quick. All right, as a side note to anybody who has done this, it wants to do it. Podcasting, as you're learning, this isn't easy.
no,
It's a difficult, but at the same time, and it's live.
yeah.
There's not so it's like if
Fuck, I
we're
can't edit this out.
right, if we're in the middle of a conversation and there's a blip in there that you don't want, you can't cut it out per se because then all the conversation's just jointed.
Mhm.
But that's besides the point. The thing is you know, you do it, you roll with it, and it's all a learning
It is
experience.
what it is.
Exactly. But the other thing is be proud of it, because regardless of what other people think of you, it's something that you are giving birth to creatively. And that's important. It's a part of you. And, sure, we all have stuff that we're like, yeah, I could have done that better. That's the
Well,
nature of
and
it.
and the thing too I've learned, and it's helped me, is you can't learn to better yourself in an area if you don't know what area needs bettering. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of just like I said, like succumbing yourself to the elements, letting it take its course. Like I said, I'm gonna look probably back on this podcast and be like, oh, I probably like babbled for too long
Yeah.
on this
No,
part, and
no,
I'll
that's
be
what I'm saying.
like,
It's
all right,
all
well,
good.
now I know in the future
Right.
to not do this or do something. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just like you can't not you can't change if you don't know what to change.
Right.
So I would say, and I think too with people with imposter syndrome and myself, is you almost like you're so focused on what's wrong that it actually goes over your head what's actually wrong to change. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if that
No,
makes
it's
any
true.
sense. Like
Yeah, because you like overthink to the point where you overshoot.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I constantly like look back on stuff with regret and be like, oh, I want to change this, and then like you know, like a year later, I'll think about the same exact thing and be like, oh wait, I didn't even think about this part, or so you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just I think when you complicate things too much, it just
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think that's a good thing. It's like you don't want to overthink things. And I think that
easier
was
said
kind of
than done. But
it is easier said than done. And I think that yeah, it's easier said than done. But I think that if you can get yourself into that space, it's a good place to be. You know what I'm saying?
you just got to be open to always growing and just always, you know what I mean. No one's perfect, and even if
Right.
they most of the time when people like put off that they're perfect, they are never perfect behind closed doors. They're
Right.
you know what I mean. So just I think it's a humility too, like just letting yourself like be open to being embarrassed or something. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And also, like I can guarantee you too. A lot of the time, like you'll be like, "Oh, I won't do that. It'll be embarrassing." No one really gives a fuck.
I know. But
Like
yeah, and,
you know,
well, or if they do, it's like
tomorrow
they're
they'll
on.
forget.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and then tomorrow, you know. So first of all, believe it or not, um, we're about an hour in.
Damn,
Yeah,
already?
I know. Isn't it crazy how quick
Jesus.
it goes? And I made kind of a promise. I'm not trying to, interrupt, but I've kind of made a promise to myself
Mhm.
that I was going to try to keep this to about an hour, hour and 15 minutes. So, with that being said, I need to break my clock watching kind of habits, but at the same time, I want to make this listenable for people. So, it's kind of that battle I'm always fighting. So, I kind of want to wrap up in a sense of the podcast. There's always conversation that happens after the podcast. And I actually have thought about, real quick for the listeners, thought about recording the kind of like an after the podcast thing where the episode ends, but then we just kind of keep the mics rolling and pick up bits, and then maybe at the end of the year release it as like a, I don't know, montage of stuff. I don't know.
Mhm.
We'll see. I mean, whatever. But anyway, I want to say first, thank you so much for coming on the podcast because I've thought about this show being a solo thing, and I'm a conversationalist, so I love having conversations. So the invite is always open to other, mainly men. I mean, I don't want to be what's the term? I don't want to be exclusive, but I really like the fact that this is a show where men can get together and we can kind of be vulnerable and have these conversations and talk about this kind of stuff, and I think it's important. And so I really
I
appreciate
agree.
you coming on the show and, being vulnerable and telling your story. But also, I think it's as much a celebration too of the changes, and that, if you can come back from the brink of thinking of being in a dark place to the point of suicidal and rise above that, I would say that that is incredible. And, I think that that's such an inspiration to other people. And I'm really excited to release this episode and allow people to kind of hear that and know that, hey, you can climb out of that darkness as well. It's going
And
to take some work. It's going to be painful. It's going to be hard. But in all of that comes change.
and for me, like I think for everyone, mental health matters, but I think especially men's mental health matters, especially with this, growing period I've had. I've had because I've like my gym pictures, I post those, or even like guitar, and like people have seen. I've made it somewhat public, and people have seen it. I've had a lot of like guys, friends that I never thought were like hurting on the inside talk to me, even if, like they never really opened up. It like even if it's just like a micro expression or just, and I could be like, damn, I didn't know that they were hurting or something. And like just to see that so many men are struggling right now,
Yeah.
and even myself, I always try and uplift any well, just everybody and anybody, but I think men's mental health is very especially important because of, I mean, I think for men it's harder to express ourselves in a
Yeah.
way and be vulnerable, but also be that strong like, figure that people can come to and feel safe around. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
No, I know.
so
There has
you're
to
right, I'm
be.
not excluding anybody, but I think it is especially important for males mental health that we need to be able to be open to each other and be, you know, expressive, and
Yeah.
it's so hard because it's so ingrained into, like, men especially, and we
Oh,
do it to
through our
ourselves.
culture,
Yeah, it's in our culture, we do it to ourselves,
Yes, absolutely.
especially that, like, "Oh, man the fuck up," bottle it all up, don't talk about anything. Like honestly, and like I said, it's humility and just accepting, just
Hmm.
let yourself be vulnerable. It's not worth holding on to that baggage your entire life, because ultimately what that does is you'll just find ways to avoid. And this is also one thing I just at least want to get out, is, you know, when you're going through something, a lot of people will just find any way to avoid it. And what that does is it just perpetuates it. They never really get to the bottom of it, and they never really solve it. And so the best thing I can say to anybody that's going through something right now is to feel it and feel all of it and
Hmm.
just get through it. Don't like push it
So true.
off and just, or like, I quit drugs. Like, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I stopped doing anything. And I just felt it all. Sometimes you just have to take that month, 2 month, time period and just grieve.
Yep.
Just feel it all, and you will feel so much better on the
Right.
other end of it.
Yeah, it's true. I had a uh, supervisor when I was working. So for the listeners, I worked in the drug and alcohol field for a little while. Not using drugs and alcohol, but helping people overcome addiction to drugs and alcohol, or the use of excessive use of drugs and alcohol. And I had a supervisor who would say, you really do need to sit with your feelings if you want to be able to grow. And when we're using substances or food or whatever, I mean, whatever habit is in there, when we do those things, we're avoiding the fact of sitting with our feelings, really. And so
I
the
agree.
challenge is rising up to that, allowing ourselves to do that. And it takes a lot of courage. And I think the fact that you've been able to do that is inspiring. And so I hope that the people who listen to this are also inspired. And I think that's kind of the message that I really want to close with is vertigo is as much about talking and being funny and whatever topics come up during the show. But the main thing is I want this as a space where people can come together, they can listen, they can feel encouraged, they can feel maybe not alone. And I just really want to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and
Of
your
course, of course.
again changes and glow up and all that. And I'm going to give you the mic for a minute or so. Anything you want to say in closing?
Um, yeah, I think just like I was saying, just feel everything. I think for me, it came easier because I've always been a very like antisocial person,
Mhm.
especially with COVID. I was so isolated before, after, and during COVID. For me, I think it was easier for me to sit with my feelings because I didn't have a choice. Like, there's
Right.
nothing else to do. So
It's true.
I think a lot of people, like, they go out, they party, they numb themselves with external, you know,
Substances.
things.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing you can do is just isolate. Not too much. Don't like that. That can be bad for your mental health. But just,
Right. It's
but
always this dance.
yeah,
Do it, but not too much.
but just, you know, A, cut out people who are bad for you. That's a huge thing. But
Mhm.
B, just at least for like temporarily cut out people in general and just breathe,
Right.
feel it all, and then come back when you're ready. And because, like I said, as long as you just avoid, um, you know, it just perpetuates and it just spirals.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
you know, do you really want to carry like, your trauma and your grief for another 20 years
Right.
and then like have a breakdown in your, you know, 40s or something? No, like that was a realization for me, is I want to, you know, these couple years might suck, but
Yeah, tackle it
it's
now.
needed. It's
Tackle
yeah.
it now and enjoy life.
Hmm.
I love it. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
I'm not sure when this episode will be released. I typically am trying to release Sundays at 7. I'm recording 2 episodes, and I think I'm going to surprise everybody and drop them together. So it's going to be one of those things where I do believe we're going to drop episode 1 and 2 together Sunday at 7. So you'll be able to hear that then. But thank you so much for coming and sharing your time. And until next time, Vertigo listeners, hope we made your head spin. Peace and out.